Hello, everyone, and welcome. While we wait for folks to join in, let's kick off with some polls. Johanna, can we start the session with the polls that we have prepared, please? So what ratio of food produced by, what is the ratio of food produced by smallholder farmers? Okay, while we wait for some answers to come in, we're almost at, okay. So the correct answer is actually 33%, and most of you got that answer right. So before we start our deep dive into this thematic session, please allow me to provide you with some background on UN 2.0 for those of you joining us today who might not be as familiar with the concept. UN 2.0 is the UN Secretary General's vision of a rejuvenated and modernized UN system for a stronger results and greater SDG impact through culture and the quintet of change. The quintet of change focuses on how we can better leverage new expertise in data, digital, innovation, strategic foresight, and behavioral science across our programs, while emphasizing our need to foster a dynamic, diverse, and curious organizational culture where these new skills can thrive. Events throughout this week will feature over 40 speakers from over 30 countries and will showcase how UN entities are applying data, digital, innovation, foresight, behavioral science, and culture in action. Yesterday, we kicked off the week with a high-level opening session with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and other inspiring speakers as they laid out the vision for a modernized United Nations. Today's session is one of 5 thematic sessions running throughout the week. In this session, we will be discussing how innovative approaches powered by UN 2.0 are transforming food systems. According to the 2023 edition of the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report, between 691 and 783 million people face hunger in 2022. Representing an increase of 122 million people compared to 2019. Apart from hunger, the report also highlights that 2.4 billion people experience moderate or severe food insecurity, and 900 million people faced food insecurity. Over 3.1 billion people could not afford a healthy diet, and many children under 5 suffer from malnutrition. Exclusive breastfeeding has improved, but more effort is needed to meet the malnutrition targets by 2030. The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2023 also highlighted that the intensification and interaction of conflict, climate extremes, and economic slowdowns and downturns, combined with highly unaffordable nutritious foods and growing inequality, are pushing us off track to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, and specifically SDG 2. Food systems are a foundation of human and planetary well-being and central to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Yet, they also contribute to ill health, inequity, environmental degradation, and greenhouse gas emissions. As food systems become more widely understood, some of the countdown indicators that are not in the SDG indicators could be considered for the next set of global development goals. Innovative approaches, behavioral science, and emerging technologies present us with unique opportunities to better understand and overcome the challenges we're facing and to come up with new ways to overcome them. I am honored to share this virtual space with colleagues from the UN Rome-based agencies and a representative from the private sector who will be sharing with us their knowledge and experience. Henry van Bursteden is Senior Innovation Officer at the Office of Innovation of FAO, with over 20 years of experience in digital innovation. Henry has always explored new boundaries for the use of digital solutions for agri-food systems, transformation, and accelerating the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals. Also with us, Lauren Landis. She is WFP's representative and country director in Kenya. Lauren has spent her career working in the field of relief and development, working for the US State Department, UN agencies, and civil society organizations, which have allowed her to have a diversified view and understanding of multiple stakeholders and challenges faced by countries in Africa. Wawena Amoateng Frimpong is Regional Director for Africa at Ignitia, a Swedish technology company that provides highly accurate, hyperlocal weather forecasts and advisory services to farmers in the tropical belt. Prior to joining Ignitia, Wawena was the Director of Operations at Esoko, a Ghanaian technology company committed to improving the welfare of rural communities by empowering them and the businesses that they serve through mobile networks and technology. So without much further ado, please join me welcoming Henry, Senior Innovation Officer at the Office of Innovation of FAO. Henry, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gladys, for the nice introduction. I will talk about the global network of digital agriculture innovation hubs that have been established by FAO in collaboration with country institutions, and more specifically, the hub in Ethiopia, which has been established with the Ministry of Agriculture. The hub in Ethiopia creates sustainable business models and support innovation projects through public-private partnerships, and it spearheads digital innovation programs meeting the local needs. It supports capacity development for digital agriculture strategies, policies, and programs, but importantly, it empowers youth and women through initiatives like boot camps, hackathons, innovation challenges, and technical trainings. It facilitates the knowledge exchange within and across national hubs using the Digital Impact Exchange, which we are piloting together with the Digital Impact Alliance and the support of the Digital Public Goods Alliance. It finished successfully its first pilot phase, and we're now continuing with the project. The global network of digital agriculture innovation hubs took part in COP28 in Dubai to talk about the importance of digital tools for agri-food systems transformation and tackling climate change. Now in the run-up of the World Food Forum, which will take place in Rome at the FAO headquarters in October, and COP29 in November, the FAO Global Network of Hubs and Partners is organizing Reboot the Earth, specifically with the Tech Envoy and also the Digital Public Goods Alliance in both Ethiopia and Morocco coming June, contributing to the global roadmap to achieving SDG 2 without breaching the 1.5 degrees threshold. So Reboot the Earth makes available foundational digital public goods of FAO and ecosystem partners. So if we talk about foundational digital public goods, we talk about open source software, open data, open content, and open AI models. And we make them available to local agripreneurs and startups to find innovative solutions for the most pressing SDG challenges. So a few words about the collaboration between FAO Ethiopia and Digital Green on establishing an open content architecture. So one of our partners we work with, a local partner, is Digital Green in Ethiopia. To advance these advisory services and maximize the impact of existing data and information for farming communities and agricultural entrepreneurs in Ethiopia, the hubs has partnered with both Digital Green and the Ministry of Agriculture to design an open knowledge sharing architecture. Through the use of open source data catalogs and content sharing networks, which are registered as digital public goods with our partner in the Digital Public Goods Alliance, a federated content sharing model was created that enables any agri-food system stakeholder to access, contribute, and share digital open content. The sharing can be achieved through multiple inputs, for example, through another digital public goods, which is CCAN, an open source data management system that is used by the FAO data catalog of our flagship hand-in-hand initiative, but also key messages from our FAO Digital Services portfolio, which is a set of mobile applications. And for example, another partner we work with is the Sprout Open Agriculture Platform that has been developed by Mercy Corp, which uses also an open source tool, CCAN. To ensure that content is appropriate and responsive to user requirements, the project started with a rapid user research, where product and user research expert interviewed the youth agripreneurs who are affiliated with the hubs in VOW Ethiopia. So in conclusion, we did several training sessions when conducted with the platform users, showcasing that the data exchange and the connected chatbot ensured, making sure that the agripreneurs, the staff and partners can all access the content that is available on the network and provide feedback. The agri-entrepreneurs use the chatbot and access content related to pest and disease management in horticulture, crops, beekeeping, best practices, regenerative soil management practices, and dairy cow management. The most curious subject, for example, was about agripreneurship, which represented 16% of the overall questions that were asked. So in conclusion, this initiative aims to demonstrate innovative ways to deliver scalable digital public goods through the global network of digital agriculture innovation hubs, and thereby enhancing digital data-driven advisory services for farmers that facilitate innovative solutions that can be provided by startup and local agripreneurs. And it serves as a potential model for digital public infrastructure that improves advisory services for small-scale farmers, making those services more efficient and impactful. Thank you very much, and back to you, Gladys.
Thank you so much, Henry. So follow-up question. Why do you think people should be joining these DPGA or similar initiatives?
So FAO joined in 2022. We became a member of the alliance, which is a multi-stakeholder alliance with several UN agencies. UNICEF, UNDP, for example, are members, but also private sector entities like ThoughtWorks and also DIAL, the Digital Impact Alliance. So it's really a multi-stakeholder partnership. And it contributes to the United Nations Secretary General Digital Cooperation Roadmap, more specifically through the championing of digital public goods. So we believe that we should work better together as UN agencies and also with the private sector on providing this foundational digital public goods and the building blocks for digital public infrastructure, which is really key for also private sector investments, but also for young startups, that they know what kind of data they can access, under what conditions, what kind of policies are attached to them, what kind of use cases it can satisfy, what kind of building blocks are available. So it's a whole range of products that are made available in this public space that are both beneficial for private sector entities to help us achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the local ones, but also for UN agencies to deduplicate and to better work together across sectors.
Thank you so much, Henry. I see we already have some questions coming up in the Q&A box, and I would like to invite the audience to continue sending questions. Let me now move on to Lauren Landis, Country Director of the World Food Programme in Kenya. Lauren, over to you.
Thank you so much. As Country Director here in Kenya, I'm very, very pleased to be here today. As an agency, World Food Programme that works every day on food security, we are really happy to give you an example of a school meals program systematic innovation. I only have this one slide, but I would really like to let you know that we have built in 3 innovations into this system. And the idea that we layer and link them together is what I think you'll see in the end has created the most systematic change. Now, you all know school feeding. It is something that exists in almost every school around the world, in almost every country. And of course, you know the benefits of feeding kids in school. It does things like improve attendance and provide an important platform for learning. But I think what we've discovered through the years, and probably WFP has been doing this for 60 years, is that it also allows, if done right, to create so much more change. Now, traditional programs, they used imported food. The food had a carbon footprint as it was trucked to remote schools. The lunches were cooked on a wood fire, and there were often stockouts, meaning that there wasn't enough food to feed all of the children. But I think what we've seen now, and particularly as we've developed these innovations, we're seeing modern programs that we're implementing in collaboration with the government of Kenya. We've seen more climate smart school feeding programs that are much more using food that is locally grown and are definitely providing a much more nutritious diet to children at school. I want to talk today about these 3 innovations that we have built and added together. The first one you'll see is School Connect. This is a digitalized school meals initiative for refugee camps. It's very simple. It simply calculates attendance and the amount of food needed to serve that number of children. It sounds very simple, but this is something that helps us to prevent stockouts of food commodities in school, and again, solves that problem of making sure that every single child gets a meal. Also, I would then like to move to innovation number 2. You see it at the top of the page. And this is a really briquettes that have been made out of an invasive tree that's grown primarily in arid parts of Kenya, but in many parts of the world. And what Kenya is saying today is they have a campaign supported by the president to plant 15 billion trees. Well, do you want to cut down a number of those trees in order to cook school meals? Of course not. The answer is no. So you need a clean cooking source that can mean the kitchen is cleaner, there's less smoke exposure for cooks, reduce cooking time, but fundamentally is much better for the environment. So this local solution has also been brought to our school feeding programs. Finally, you looking at number 3, we have H2 Grow. And we've been looking at how to grow school meals when you don't have a lot of land, when you don't have a lot of water, particularly in arid areas. And so H2 Grow is a form of hydroponics that we have implemented, particularly in informal settlements, but other places in Kenya with schools. And it uses 90% less water, 75% less space. The plants grow 8 times faster, and the setup uses all local materials, often recycled materials like yogurt cups. But also the very exciting part is that children get to learn about farming. This may help to produce the future generations of farmers in Kenya. They get to enjoy the vegetables they have grown, so often introducing children to vegetables they haven't eaten before, but also teaches very strongly about climate-friendly practices. And we found that we can take this quite large scale in many areas of the country. So what does it all mean? By linking and layering all of these innovations, we get, as you see on the left-hand side, this systemic impact, right? You get the learning of the children, the contribution to sustainable food systems, and then also saving the environment. So simply by leveraging the power of data, digital tools, and continuous innovation, we can make this systems approach replicable, adaptable, and a potential to transform school meals programs worldwide, starting here in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Indeed, it is through leveraging these innovations, data and digital tools that we make this replicable. But we also hear a lot about bundling innovation and what it means when you combine not only all these emerging technologies, but also these innovative approaches. I see a very important human component in this in the description of the project that you are leading in Kenya. On a day-to-day basis, how do you make sure that you are bundling these innovations, that you're combining these innovation initiatives and delivering results for the projects that WFP has in Kenya?
Thank you, Gladys. I think you have really almost answered the question. I think that what we find is very, very critical is that we need to listen to the schools. We need to listen to the teachers, and we even need to listen to the students. And by taking what they call in fancy language, this human-centric design, we are really listening to those that we need to serve, hearing the problems that they have, and then trying to figure out how to build the solutions that don't just solve one problem, but can solve the sort of community of problems that we're faced with. I think it's important to see innovation as not just something that gives us gadgets or fancy toys, but that it really gets in there and solves the key problems that the most vulnerable, the most insecure are facing. And I think that's really the approach we've taken. Thank you so much.
No, thanks to you, Lauren. There is something that you mentioned about language, and I think that that's an innovation in itself. Sometimes the mindset is that you need to speak with complex terms and sophisticated words to sound like you understand a subject, and it is quite the contrary. It is by simplifying the words that we use, by making the language accessible so that that knowledge can actually be shared, that you can deliver those transformational results that we all seek to achieve. So thank you so much, Lauren, for that. I'm going to give the floor now to our third speaker for this session. I'm very pleased to welcome Pawena Amateng Frimpong, Regional Director for Africa at Ignitia. Pawena, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Gladys, and hello everyone here. So I will briefly present on what we do at Ignitia, then I'll share a use case of our technology with the BFP, and I'll conclude with some impacts that we have made so far. So, hello, can I get the next slide, please? Right. So at Ignitia, we are a climate tech company, and all what we try as much as possible to do is to see how can we convert complex weather data into very simple, usable format, which is highly scalable and have high impact for farmers and the businesses within the tropics. We all know the issue about low radar sensors. So at Ignitia, what we have found is that it will be good to use remote sensing and satellite data to be able to help do weather forecasting, in the sense that there is few weather stations available to help with the forecasting. And we as a company are just optimized our solutions for the tropics, and it is largely because not quite a lot of investment has been happening in the tropics, especially Africa. So we want to really focus on that to really improve weather forecasting there. And with the emergence of AI and machine learning, I think we are rather doing more of accuracy in terms of prediction. So through the weather data, we have been able to come up with products like rainfall forecasts that we do disseminate for farmers so that they can plan out their activities. We also provide climate smart agricultural services and also agronomy, as well as early warning systems that are also going to really help farmers to really plan activities. We are currently also developing climate risk score, which we think will be good so that we can know the risk assessment level of farms or lands that want to be used for agricultural purposes. And on the right, you see from external evaluations, it has been found that most farmers that do receive our messages have changed their behavior, that is resulting in higher yields. We have a very low churn rate as a digital service provider, and we have a very good net promoter score, which is above the benchmark for digital services in Africa. And in terms of accuracy, there have been about 98% reported accuracy in terms of our services that we do provide. Next slide, please. Right. So I'm sharing a use case that we do have with the WFP in Mali under the accelerator program. So with that, what we have done is we have provided weather services or climate information service that includes rainfall forecast and climate smart advisories to over 5,000 farmers. And what we do is that with that, we are providing them with information around the planting date predictions, because that is really critical for farmers to know when to plant and when to apply fertilizer or any other input that they do use. And this is what we've done. And currently, what we are trying to do also in Mali is how can we test different innovative distribution models like the agripreneur model in Mali, so that it can also create jobs for the youth within Mali. In terms of results that we have achieved, you can see clearly that we have reached about 30% being female farmers, and also about 94% of these farmers reporting in terms of the accuracy of the forecast that they receive, and the change in behavior of farming practices as a result of the messages that they received cannot be overemphasized, where most of the farmers have changed their farming practices as a result of message that they receive that is helping them to make more data-driven decisions on the farm. So I'll talk on my last slide, which is about the impact that we have made so far at Ignition. Right. So we have reached about 3 million subscribers currently in Africa. And since our churn rate is low, we are really working and getting active subscribers between 600 to 800,000. And for us, what is very key for us is how our service is supporting farmers to be more climate resilient and willing to face climate shocks on that. So I'll be happy to respond to any questions that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kawena. While you were doing your presentation, I was wondering how, if you could explain to us in very simple terms, how do you ensure that this information reaches farmers in remote areas in the right format?
Okay, right. So one of the key elements of what we do in terms of disseminating message is we do incorporate human-centered designs in our work. We think we can use an all size fits all. So what we do is if we are getting into a new region or a country to provide service, we do undertake some human-centered design where we engage farmers to find out how do they understand these messages. What are we do like a needs assessment to get to know what actually do they need and in what format do they need it. Should it be this particular language or the others? Would they be okay to receive it via SMS or via voice? And also, what medium do they want it? Because we know that there's low penetration of smartphones. So do they want it as a regular SMS or they need it on a WhatsApp phone or because they have a smartphone? So we go around just to be sure about in terms of how farmers can really understand the messages that we are putting up there and in what medium that they can really use it. So human-centered designs, I would say, is really critical to our work at Ignition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kawena. Maybe you shared this before, but if you could share with us which countries you're operating in?
So our service is currently optimized for the whole of Africa, also in Brazil, and we are currently also working on getting to Southeast Asia. So anywhere within the tropics, Ignition services is more than available to be provided there to support smallholder farmers and agribusinesses.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on now to our questions and answers session. So I would like to invite everybody, if you have any questions, instead of posting them in the chat, please use the Q&A box so that we can also use the upvote function in Zoom. So let me go to the most voted questions so far. And I think this is a question for FAO, for Henry. how do you all think about what is required for farmers to adopt digital technologies from a digital literacy point of view? And what is inhibiting broader scale of these technologies? I think this is both mainly for Henry and Kwawena. So maybe Henry, you want to start?
Thanks, Gladys, for the question. There are many impediments now for larger uptake. We all know that connectivity is really an issue. Kabeb also mentioned that the uptake of smartphones, for example, is still an issue in many areas. So there's only availability of feature phones, which sometimes also the model to provide these services through SMS or USSD can be costly, So many of the partnerships that need to be in place are done on a project basis, which is very time consuming. So one of the challenges we need to address is how can we as a UN agency and with the partners find a model, for example, in collaboration with the Broadband Commission, of which our FAO Director General is a commissioner. How can we find new models to improve the broadband connectivity, make it affordable, because it shouldn't cost more than 2% of an income, which in many areas is not the case. So that's really a challenge we need to address commonly, but also challenges related to local languages. We've also done several what we call human-centered design projects where we try to design a smartphone application, or as we call it, a headless application. So smartphone, but also feature phone services and voice services together with farmer communities and our Dimitra clubs and farmer field schools. And the challenge is always that you maybe have very good content, but as soon as you start to pivot the content from one domain to another, or you start to pivot from one language to another, things start to break. And that's really a big challenge that we have as partners, no? So how can we piggyback on very good experiences that happen in one domain or in one country and reuse the efforts that have gone into sometimes very lengthy processes and reuse that in other domains, no? Between health and agri-food systems, or between education and other domains. So I think that's really a challenge that if we can address that, and that's why we work with Digital Green and the Ministry of Agriculture in Ethiopia on this open content architecture, how can we make sure that this is widely available, trusted advisory services, messages for farmers, widely available with enough context so it can be more readily reused to build them into digital services. And those services could have like a payment model on top of that. That's not a problem. But as long as we do a better job in making all this knowledge available in a much better way, then I think we have the partnership that the Quintet of Change is requesting from us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry, for that. Very quickly, before we go to Kwawena, because we have questions coming in for him. Henry, we collaborate a lot, IFAD and FAO collaborate a lot also building capacity on behavioral science. And I know that you're using also that approach in some of the climate grants that we're working together on. How are you using behavioral design to face some of those challenges that you were describing before? If you can just give us a very brief answer. And I have also a request from the organizers to let you know could you please identify yourselves when you ask questions in the Q&A function box, because we had a problem with the link. So your questions, I don't see the names of the people that are asking the questions. Henry, back again to the behavioral design question. Thank you.
So related to that, to behavioral science, that's really a challenge now, especially if you work with local communities. And that's also why we think that it's so important to work with the local startups, with the local agripreneurs, because they are aware of many of the challenges, but also at the same time, they see the opportunities, but do not necessarily have the access to the data or to the financial means to put their ideas into practice. So if you think about, for example, nutritional challenges, so how can you make sure that rural communities have access to nutritious food? although if you look at the numbers, it's really staggering how many people do not have access to nutritious foods, and we need to find new ways through behavioral science to incentivize people to have access, but at the same time, I really believe in that if we can bring in behavioral science in our approaches, for example, through human-centered design, but also within our organizations, within our UN organizations, because it really requires a shift in mindset on how we design our programmatic interventions. Now, move away from small project-based interventions to a much more programmatic design that has a longer view. And the example that was given, for example, by Lauren on the school feeding, I think is an excellent example on how you can provide the right incentives for a number of partners to work together and be in it for the long run.
Thank you so much, Henry. Kwabena, we have lots of people interested in learning more about your business model. How do you ensure not only during your presentation, you were talking about what was the best channel and the best format to reach small scale farmers, but how do you make sure that the service or the product that you are providing stays relevant and that it is accessible and affordable?
Right. So one of the key things that we do to be sure that the service is relevant is we use an approach or a technique which is more like hyper-local context that we do give the forecast. So for every farmer that we have provided information to, we try as much as possible to get the GPS coordinate of the farm so that we are able to then provide the weather forecast that is specific to your farm. There are quite a lot of microclimates within the tropics. So if you do give generic weather information like we see from most of the national met agencies, you might get a forecast that is not really related to your field. And another thing that we do is we do get information on the crop that you are cultivating. And also we do ask information around what is your planting date or the estimated planting date. Then we can align the advisories along the cropping calendar of that particular farmer, so that when we are providing you information that, okay, tomorrow you were due to apply fertilizer, but expect maybe a heavy rain which could cause a runoff, so we advise not for you to apply the fertilizer, then it will make sense to the farmer. So what we do is we really do take critical information from the farmer, then we use this to set up the messages in our system, then automate it to be sure that the farmer is getting the right information at the right time and based on high frequencies or like forecast accuracies as well. So those are what we do put in place to check.
And Kwabena, very quickly, affordability. How do you make sure that it is affordable?
Yes, so what we try as much as possible to do is we are being backed by social investors who do give us the opportunity to make sure that our services are as affordable as possible. Also, we do get support sometimes for R&D and other services, like I said, how WFP Accelerator Program was supporting us in Mali for farmers to then assess our services, and whilst that is being done, the impact is then being set. What's happening keenly is that most farmers in the initial stages are not willing to pay for digital service, especially because it's not tangible and they don't know what benefit it can bring to them. So when they have the opportunity to try that service based on the proof of concept that is sometimes supported by organizations, and they get to know that the benefit outweighs the cost, it is only at that point that their willingness to pay increases. And we try as much as possible, like I said, to make sure it's affordable because of the investors that we do have, which are largely social entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Thank you, Kwabena. You know, we just 10 days ago we had the Food Security Forum in for the Asia and the Pacific, and what you are mentioning was mentioned so many times by entrepreneurs and by social innovators. The importance of creating those incentives for the private sector to be able to go, you know, and invest in the last mile, and keeping those incentives, and the pivotal role that our agencies can play if we're willing to create that incentives mechanism to make it relevant for small scale farmers. I have a lot of questions that are also coming here for Lauren. So Lauren, these questions relate to how is that you make sure that those innovations are reaching the deep field. And in particular, we have a question here that says, is there any program in place to facilitate community members teaching each other how the hydroponic system works so that there is not so much dependency on an external agency such as WFP for instruction and maintenance?
Thank you very much. I think that's a really excellent question, because here in Nairobi, we aren't deep field. I mean, we have 5G. There's really two Kenyas. There's the Nairobi with an expressway and 5G, and then there's the deep field. And I think really the challenge is to move all of that innovation and technology from Nairobi to places, say, in the arid and semi-arid regions of the north. And that's where we're finding our greatest challenge, but I think also our greatest success. We've been working with youth innovation centers in some of these remote counties. And I think you find that youth are very excited about innovation and change. And it is easy to bring new ideas to them, which then they can replicate and create a local solution, something that is really pertinent to the community that they're living in. So I think what we're really looking for is to create these incubation hubs. We're really looking to find ways, whatever it is, an innovation, a youth center, to access the youth. And I think the one partner that has been very, very close at our side is the MasterCard Foundation, who has really challenged us to find sustainable jobs for youth. And so they have helped us to create innovation challenges and to find ways to co-create even in the deep field with youth. And I think that's been some of the things that we've taken on and seen some real success. Thank you,
Lauren. I would like to mention that with WFP and also together with other international financial institutions and with CGIAR, we have this partnership that is called Moonshots for Development. It's the partnership of the innovation labs or innovation units of the IFADs, CGIAR, and WFP. And one thing that we have worked on over the last 2 years is making sure that we have a clear roadmap, a pipeline of how is that we're going to move from incubation, acceleration, and then that scaling up path that we all want to achieve. And participatory approaches, making sure that we incorporate behavioral design, that the teams are receiving technical assistance in behavioral science and on lean innovation is quite important. But a major factor is also ensuring that that incentive mechanism is there and that financing is available throughout the different stages. So Lauren, that was extremely relevant what you were sharing with us, and I really appreciate how throughout the conversation you keep emphasizing the role of focusing on the communities and having this participatory approach and making sure that you're listening to the communities, designing with them and for them. So I really appreciate that, Lauren, very, very much. I think we have time for one more question, and I would like to, anyone can really address this question, but we talk a lot about digital public goods. And now we are hearing more and more about digital public infrastructures. And I know that not everybody in the audience is familiar with these two terms, but there is more and more emphasis on working together with governments and ensuring that these technologies are being designed with and for the people that we aim to serve. So maybe, Henry, since you have over 20 years of experience on digital innovation, if you could just provide some key messages, key lessons on why is that the UN, the international financial institutions, and international organizations in general should be engaging in and investing in digital public infrastructures. We have, IFAD is in together with the Inter-American Development Bank. We're working on developing our own DPI which is called AgroWeb 3 for digital wallets. We want to hear from organizations like you, FAO. How is it this changes the playing field?
Thanks, Gladys. No, I think it's paramount. There's so much duplication, and there's also so many gaps now, especially in rural areas, in the provision of digital services, that it tends to even widen the digital gap. No? And we need to be very careful that this is not going to happen, that everybody is reaping the benefits, now the digital dividends. So now with the promise of artificial intelligence, we see there's so much happening, but does it actually, can it actually provide now services that are relevant for small scale producers, for rural communities, and bring them on in this promise of digital transformation, and in our case, agri-food systems transformation. So in order to make sure that we have a common approach and we try to reuse what we call use cases and building blocks in providing digital products, then if we work better together, we can identify areas where one domain already provided very good solutions. For example, if you think about digital identity or digital payments, that might be very successful in one domain or in one country, but have not come to the full potential in other countries or in other domains. So the Digital Public Goods Alliance, they really took up this challenge of the UN Secretary General on digital cooperation. And this is where FAO, we really jumped on that and contribute to that. And we are now already championing digital public goods, but it shouldn't stop there. That's not enough. It's not enough to say, okay, we contribute with digital public goods to this roadmap. We need to also identify what are the building blocks and the use cases that are fundamental, fundamental foundational layer in countries, in our case, mostly in agri-food systems, to avoid that every time they start building or countries start building a big data platform, they use different tools, or sometimes they have lock-in effects, or it is dependent on the sustainability of a single project. That's not a model that is sustainable. It's very costly, and we can do much better than that. And we are very happy that through the partnership with the Digital Public Goods Alliance, this has now also been recognized in the UN Global Compact. So the emphasis on or the importance of digital public infrastructure has been highlighted in the Global Compact. So we are very much committed to contribute and to work together with all partners, private sector, UN, and public sector to make this happen.
Thank you so much, Henry. You were mentioning also the importance of making all these digital public goods interoperable, for them, which is the capacity of them to be able to talk to each other and for us to be able to use them alternatively. So that's also quite important. We have lots of questions coming in for Lauren. You have a lot of people interested in learning if they can partner with WFP for the initiatives that you have in Kenya and also beyond Kenya. A lot of people interested in learning more about your hydroponics projects and the future and how sustainable they are. So, but unfortunately we're running out of time, so we won't be able to go into those questions. But Lauren, if you agree, if they could reach out to you, because I see a lot of people interested in reaching out to you and establishing those partnerships, that would be quite fabulous if you could follow up with our audience and all the people that are interested in learning more about how to partner with WFP. So today we heard from Kawena of Ignitia and his call to action to ensure that we jointly promote climate information services among smallholder farmers to support them making data-driven decisions, and that these decisions are also made on a timely manner. Kawena also shared with us the pivotal role that UN agencies can play as enablers of innovation and creating also those incentive schemes so that we can work together and deliver the results and impact that we aim to deliver. Henry from FAO shared with us also that we need to work more and better together as UN partners and private sector stakeholders on cross-sectoral digital public goods and foundational digital public infrastructure. But he also shared with us on an open content architecture to reach smallholder farmers and leaving no one behind. Lauren from WFP emphasized the power of data and of fostering innovation specifically designed for deep field challenges. And Lauren, I really appreciated your human-centered approach and how you emphasized how WFP really makes an extra effort to ensure that you're listening to the communities, that you're designing with the communities and with project participants the solutions that are meant to address their challenges. And it is, in fact, through innovative approaches that we combine behavioral design, emerging technologies, traditional knowledge, behavioral design, of course, and traditional knowledge as a source of innovation. So we cannot forget that we have knowledge that is passed generation through generation, and sometimes it's more effective than some of the solutions that we are developing today. So it's very important also to work with these communities, ensuring that we don't lose that traditional knowledge and that we also investigate through science on the effectiveness of these traditional knowledge solutions, and when they work, emphasize their use and their adoption as well. We can make all these solutions available for food systems, and when we combine them, when we bundle them up, as Lauren was describing, we can actually make them replicable and adaptable to better serve the communities that we support. Before closing today's session, I would like to invite you all to join our upcoming UN 2.0 week sessions, and also to join the UN 2.0 mailing list to stay in the loop. Johanna, if you could also share the link to the website so that people can sign up to the sessions, that would be great, because as I said at the beginning of the session, we have over 40 speakers from over 30 countries and 5 thematic sessions. This is one of those thematic sessions, but we are going to be addressing also other thematic areas from education and to gender. So please join us also in those sessions. Thank you to Johanna, Joachim, to Fiona, to our friends at the UN Innovation Network, to our speakers from FAO, WFP, and Ignitia, and of course, special thanks to our audience for being here with us today. Without you, this session would not be possible. I invite you to join these sessions, but also to engage as actively as you did with us today. With that, I'm going to conclude the session, and thank you everyone for joining us.